gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for Dissing Disabilities. I'm your host, R. Michael Schlesinger, where we discuss disabilities issues, one issue at a time, knocking down barriers. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Chris Lohrman, Director of Special Education, Long Beach Unified School District. Thanks for being with us, Chris.
Thank you for having me, Rob. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm kind of feeling very nostalgic because I went through Long Beach Unified and I started at Tucker, which is now a different facility, and went all through Hill and Milliken and all the different schools. And what we want to let parents know is, even though we're talking about Long Beach Unified, this could apply to any district.
Absolutely.
So I just have a couple questions for you today in our brief time together. Our first question would be this. As a school administrator and working with the IEP, what would you say is the most difficult situation or problem that you face working with the IEP?
Yeah, Rob, I think, and these tips can be helped across the board. I've actually worked in a number of districts in different roles. I think for the site administrator, the most difficult part is really making sure that they can individualize that meeting and managing that whole piece and making sure that it's not just a routine. That's the biggest challenge I think site administrators have on that, especially now with a lot of things on their plate with different Common Core aspects and things like that, is really making sure that the team devotes that time to that IEP. And it's becoming really challenging over the years, but that's probably the biggest challenge. Also, the other challenge, I think, and this is for both sides, and we'll talk a little bit about for parents as well, is having teams not jump to the end automatically. The IEP process is set up for a way of a process to individualize for the student, and I think a lot of times teams as well as parents want to jump to the end piece. And that may be because they have a relationship with the family at the school site. 99% of IEPs are well done, have good relationships with families, but when you do hit those one or two times where there's conflict, teams and parents don't like that conflict. And having, as an administrator, back everybody up to really look and focus at the child, that's probably the biggest challenge.
And I think it was mentioned to me by another guest, both as a teacher and as a parent. We had them on the show, and what they were saying was sometimes the I in IEP is forgotten.
Yes.
The individual is forgotten, and we have to bring the focus back to the child and what our ultimate goal is, which is how to have the child succeed in the least restrictive learning environment.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so let's take it up one
Sure.
level. You were talking about the site administrator. I'm curious to know what it's like for you when it comes. We don't want it to come to this level, but if it does come to the level, what do you find difficult?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most challenging part is for me and for teams and parents to understand that it is still about that IEP team process. Unfortunately, a lot of people feel that myself as the director of special ed or another administrator here has the final say. And when it's kicked up to my level to intervene, a lot of times the parties, IEP team as well as the parent, is looking for me to make an ultimate decision, or one of my other administrators. And sometimes people get frustrated when we push it back to the team level, because by law I can't make a unilateral decision here. But
Exactly.
What the most difficult part about that is the communication breaks down. It's come up to here, and so reopening that communication, one with the parent, but also with my own team sometimes, to look back at the needs of the child.
And I think this is where what I call in my book, dancing the IEP dance, okay, which people say, huh? And what I have learned, and my colleague gave me this when I wrote the book is that people, or parents I should say, tend to want the best for their child, and they're mama cub kind of like. They come out with wanting to attack, wanting to blame the school district, the school's not doing this, so they come in like a bull in a china shop, ready with the attorney, ready with all kinds of guns to protect their child, which is instinctive. However, what I think you and I can convey today is that that is not the approach.
No.
The approach is sort of like, is definitely the IEP dance. You make a request or a move, the district makes a response. You agree or disagree with it, then they move to the next step. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, back and forth. And it is a dance, and the longer you dance, the more successful. And I would think that the tone sets the music for the meeting. If you come in and you start at a reasonable tone and go through the meeting, there are meeting stoppers, yes. However, the tone that you set and the administrator sets is going to be the whole set of the meeting. Am I correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, 99% of those meetings are good. They set a nice tone, friendly. I like to always, when I would lead meetings at the site level, introductions. I always like to start. I'm a little different as well. I've worked with a wide range of students, and my belief also is to have the student start in that meeting, beginning at age kindergarten, at least for the first 5 minutes, so you can introduce and we can all talk about the student and 1 or 2 things that they're doing very well. Sets the tone of that meeting of it's about the student, rather than about a conflict if a conflict's arising. So.
And I want to tell you something that back in my day, I don't want to reveal my age, what I saw was there was no inclusion. This didn't happen when we were having IEPs when I was going through Long Beach Unified. So my father and mother were advocates, definite advocates to, okay, my child is going to sit in on a meeting. And they didn't like that.
Yeah.
It was like, no. Well, my father, I can remember insisting, because I did understand the educational process, and he wanted me to be part of what I was doing. So I really applaud you for doing that at this level now. So the things that are happening for these students now are a real plus, because they're learning about their process and understanding their process at whatever level that they can understand.
Yeah.
They don't have to feel like they're in that special RSP class. They can understand that, yes, they're in the RSP class, but that's going to help them learn better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's also to reinforce the fact of mom and dad are going to the meeting to hear something good about what I'm doing, rather than mom and dad are upset or something like that. And sometimes, unfortunately, some children take that as I've done something wrong. And no, it should be, this is something positive. So.
I like that a lot. Well, I see by the time that we did run out of time, we did go over a little bit, but I think it's great information. I want to thank Chris for taking the time out of his busy schedule to address us. And remember, folks, you can get information from our YouTube channel. We have the IEP series posted, and you can also get it from my book, Navigating the IEP Process. And if you email me at rob@specificallyspeaking, I can tell you how to get it. It's also available on Amazon.com. And lastly, don't forget, please comment in the screen below. Let us know if you liked the episode. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because when you subscribe, we hang around. So until next time, thank you for watching.